Well said, Congressman. What can we do to help move this legislation through the House and get it passed?
If your listeners would call their members of the United States House of Representatives, and I hope soon we'll have a Senate senator to introduce the same legislation. But right now, if your listeners would call their members of Congress and say, please co-sponsor HCON Resolution 107. All they have to do is to call their member of Congress or email them or fax them and just say, please join in this House effort to bring back the constitutional authority of Congress to be involved when it comes to debating war. And that's what they need to do. And I can honestly tell you, we had a person yesterday, I was in the Greenville office, Greenville, North Carolina, and a gentleman called from Colorado and said, what can I do to help Congressman Jones with this HCON Resolution, 107. And we told him, just call your member of Congress, ask them to join, call the J Committee in Washington, D.C., and say this is a constitutional debate that needs to start, and HCON Resolution 107 will start the debate.
Again, we're talking to Congressman Walter Jones of North Carolina, and I'm glad people are calling and thanking him, but I think what's more important is to call the head of the Judiciary Committee to ask them to get behind it and start promoting it, to call the media and say, don't black this out, and to call people like Senator Rand Paul and say, look, you've talked a lot about this war power issue. Your father has. You need to co-sponsor this immediately in the Senate. I would imagine that Senator DeMint would want to get behind this. I would imagine that Senator Sessions, who was so flabbergasted, Congressman, would want to get behind this right now.
Well, I'm going to reach out to him Monday. We will be back in Washington. I've already asked my staff to call his office to see if he could give me 10 minutes by telephone. I think he will see the value of trying to introduce this on the Senate side, and let's debate this issue. It is time for Congress to get out of the stands and get on the field when we talk about sending our young men and women to die.
What are folks saying in North Carolina, especially in your district, the 3rd District?
Alex, I don't want to mislead anything. I'm a man of integrity and honesty, and I will tell you that the phones, the emails have been overwhelming in behalf of this legislation.
So, well, that's what I've seen. Now, what about the semi-blackout? Drudge Report covered it. I've covered it. Infowars.com covered it. WorldNet Daily covered it. I do a search every day. A few local newspapers in North Carolina mentioned it. Other than that, nothing. Nothing. You would think that a law to begin impeaching any president who tries to power grab like this, that a move towards that could lead to impeachment, that would be huge news. And you can tell they're scared of this because there's been such a blackout. How do we force this issue out there?
Alex, I think letters to the editors or emails to the national papers or local papers. My local paper, they did an editorial that they did not understand that we had changed the word "the president," which means only Obama, to a president, and they wrote an editorial. It was not overly critical, but it just did not understand the intent. I called the editor, who's a very nice young man, and I said, I wish you'd call me before you did the editorial because you would understand that this deals primarily with getting Congress back into the debate. I am sick and tired of being told, well, the only time you can debate whether we should be or not be in Afghanistan is when we have the appropriations bill dealing with funding the war.
Yeah, I'm going to be... Sure.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. I interrupted you.
No. We should have the authority to have, when President Obama is saying, well, you gave President Bush the authority in 2001 or 2002, and that's the authority I'm using. For goodness sakes, 11 years later, we shouldn't be debating whether we should be there or not be there sometime in that 11-year period of time. So this is a start on that whole debate, quite frankly.
Well, Congressman, we've only got about 5 minutes left with you, and you've got to run. We just appreciate what you're doing. My question is, why don't we see more people? Why is it just you, Ron Paul, Dennis Kucinich, got redistricted out of his constituency, railroaded out, and so there's not many people that'll just stand for the basic Constitution. For those that don't know history, it happens in third world countries. It happened in Rome with Caesar. When a president or a leader, the chief executive, starts trying to take the military under their own control, that's always the biggest red flag. As you said in your letter dealing with this, the cornerstone of our republic is the war powers, is that the Congress is in control of this, and this is one of the biggest issues out there.
Well, Alex, our country is financially broke. We're just the young men and women that have fought for this country in Afghanistan and Iraq. I've seen the broken legs. I've seen the amputated legs. I've seen the paralyzed bodies. The American people need to say that we no longer will send our young men and women to fight overseas unless Congress does its job that is based on the Constitution. And again, HCON Resolution 107 is a start to get Congress back into the game of war.
Well said. Look, I'm not trying to tell Ron Paul, sir, what to do, and I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but what about if this gets ignored, just going ahead because the crime is ongoing? Now they want to send AFRICOM into all these countries for the globalists to grab resources. They're trying to expand all these other wars, proxy wars. What about just going ahead with a move for impeachment? Perhaps if they're ignoring a law that says if you don't do this, impeachment's triggered, what about just going ahead with the impeachment? I mean, why doesn't Ron Paul just go ahead and introduce articles of impeachment? We've got plenty of it to go after Obama. And I understand you're saying any president, but I don't care if it's political. I mean, I know you were critical of this when Republicans were doing things similar, but not rising to this level.
Well, Alex, I think if people like you across this nation will continue to beat the drum for HCON Resolution 107, I think this will lead to other avenues that need to be led to that you're making mention of. But right now, to show that my leadership in the Republican House, we are the majority in the House, they need to be speaking out about bringing this bill to the J Committee because it's important, because we're talking about the Constitution. I'm with you 100%.
Well, Congressman, I want to give you closing comments here in the last 3 minutes or so, but just bring up another issue that's part of this. The National Defense Authorization Act that Obama said he wouldn't sign. Then it turns out he demanded this power to secretly arrest and disappear Americans right out of Nazi Germany or Soviet Russia. Then he signed it, on New Year's Eve, so nobody would notice. I mean, this is really creepy. What's the sense of Congress about this?
Well, Alex, I think I don't have the record, but I think I was one of about 6 or 7 Republicans that voted no for that simple reason. That provision in there gives unlimited authority to a president, no matter who that president is, to determine who he thinks is a terrorist, and it could be an American citizen, and take him out. I'm with you 100% on that. That's why I voted against it.
Well, I'm glad you're there. Ron Paul says he's going to retire if he doesn't win the presidency. I'd like him to reconsider that, and I hope you keep running and keep winning because there's not many good guys up there. Is anybody else starting to wake up there?
Slowly, there are a few that are beginning to wake up, and Justin Amash from Michigan is a disciple of Ron Paul. He's a wonderful young member of Congress. He's only been there 1 year, but he values the words in the Constitution like I do. And there's no two more important documents than the Bible and the Constitution. They've got to be protected.
Wow. Congressman Walter Jones, thank you for your courage, and thank you for standing up for our republic in a time of universal deceit. Telling the truth is a revolutionary act. Thank you so much for your time, and hopefully you can give us an update in a few weeks.
Alex, I look forward to that. Thank you for this opportunity. God, please continue to bless our men and women in uniform.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.